Hello everyone, welcome to our Creating Impressive Certificates and Sign-in Sheets session. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I'm sure you'll find it very valuable. Today's session is going to be recorded, so it will be available on our on-demand webpage later if anyone needs to drop out early or if you want to rewatch any of it. Today, Sarah is going to take us through how you can create document templates to produce impressive certificates and sign-in sheets. So without further ado, I shall hand you over.
Thank you so much. Okay, so as Ian says, in today's session, we're going to be covering an introduction to document templates, so why we would use them and what they can be used for. We're also going to be going through creating and generating certificates, as well as creating and generating sign-in sheets, and then any other uses for document templates that we have seen throughout the years. So firstly, I'll just introduce ourselves. So I am Sarah Bickerstaff. I am one of the customer support advisors here at accessplanit. And joining me today is Ian Brown, who is our business operations coordinator, or BOC, as we've started to name him. And collectively, we have 9 years at accessplanit under our belts. So today's webinar is all about how you can use your accessplanit document templates to create impressive certificates and sign-in sheets. So whether you need to provide certificates to your delegates for accreditation purposes or just as an attendance record, giving them certificates can it's a great way to validate their efforts and achievements. It adds a rewarding element to the learning experience, and it means that they can immediately access any benefits that are associated to their completing their training. So for sign-in sheets and registers, as well as being a classic method for recording attendance, they're also now used as a communication tool with your trainers. So you can give them useful and relevant information about the upcoming course, of course, allowing them to know who's attending, as well as the room information and any other additional information they may need about their delegates. So none of the features that we're going to be covering today are an extra charge. They're all included as standard within your platform. So final thing before we do jump into the how is we will be going through all of the questions at the end. So if you do have any, pop them in the chat or the Q&A box throughout the session, and Ian and I will endeavour to answer those at the end. So before we get into the specifics, I just wanted to go over a quick introduction into document templates. So what are document templates? So we can use them for a variety of purposes, mainly for pulling course and delegate information from your platform. So we can use certificates for this. So you can see we've got a mock-up here, which has got course information, course date, and the expiry information. And then we have a sign-in sheet. So this is a really nice clean example of a sign-in sheet where you've got course information at the top, followed by a delegate list with their account name. So document templates allow it's a dynamic document that can pull information using merge fields, similar to our email template functionality if you've used that before. Document templates are commonly used for certificates and sign-in sheets and other training information, but we have found a number of different uses for them throughout the years, which we'll be covering as our last point. They can also be used to generate our door signs, name badges, and any joining instructions. And all document templates are created and designed in Microsoft Word. So let's get into how to do that then. So we have come up with a process here at accessplanit for creating your document templates. And the first thing is to plan your document. So before you even open Word, start to consider what information you might want to include in your document. So whether that is the name of the course and the delegate, those are typically recommended for a certificate. But then we go into your brand. Are there certain colours and logos that you need to include? And are there any legal requirements of your certificate? So perhaps a unique identifier or an expiry date. Next, we want to define the structure of your document. So what it's going to look like, whether there's going to be any tables available in there. the setup and the structure. So you see here, this is my nice simple one from before, where we've got the delegate name, the account name, a space for their signature, and the name of the course at the top. Next is adding in any images and branding, how you want to look at those, and how you want them to appear with headers and footers. So we've added some branding in here. Then your merge fields, what information specifically do we want to add in there? So the course label, the certificate expiry, etc. So now we've added some merge fields. So I'll just do a little zoom in. Here you can see we've got the course label nice and clear at the top. So if a trainer, for example, is running 3 courses on one day, they might turn up in the morning and have all 3 together. So it's nice and easy for them to identify which course they are looking at the sign-in sheet for. And you'll see underneath that we've then got the merge field for the course start date. And then finally, we've got the candidate information, so delegate name, and then the account name. Okay. So now we're going to be going through the process of creating a certificate with merge fields. So we're going to be getting that then uploaded into the accessplanit platform, as well as then setting up a workflow to send that automatically. So lots to get through. So this first video we're going to be going through is changing a merge field name. So you can see there, delegate name is currently in free text. So I want to change this. So in the document template area, we have our help at the right-hand side, and you can get access to the merge field and glossary page. Whenever you're creating document templates, you'll want this page open because it has all of the fields that you can access from your platform. Now we're going to grab candidate name, and I'm going to highlight this text, and now I'm going to insert a quick part of a merge field. So depending on your version of Word, it might look a little bit different, but it's called quick parts and merge field. We then paste in the merge field formatting, and you will see you then get your arrow brackets around it. So that's a nice, easy way to identify that you have merge fields in your document. So I'm now going to do the same for the course name, adding a merge field, pasting in the label, adding some spaces. And then on this certificate, we have 2 dates. So we can do the same for each one of the dates, course end date. And with date merge fields, you can also add formatting to these. So you can decide how you want that date to populate on your certificate. So whether you want it like the above, just the day, month, and year. So if the course had ended today, for example, it would say 13/05/2024. But what you might want to say Tuesday, the 13th of May, 2024, and we can define that in the formatting. So now we've finalized our merge fields, and our certificate is now ready to be uploaded into the accessplanit platform. So again, we're coming into administration, document templates, and for today's, I'm going to create a new one. An account is your training provider. Then we give our certificate a name. You can add a small description if you'd like. We want the active box ticked, but we don't want to keep the original document type. We want to send this as a PDF, upload our certificate that we just created, and then we are going to save and close that. So I've now got my certificate, and that is ready to be generated manually. So to generate a certificate, you're going to want to navigate to the delegate list. This can be at the course, or like here, we've using the delegate smart grid with a filter for status is incompleted, because that's typically when you will want to send your certificates, is once they've completed the course. generate your documents by selecting your delegate, select your document template that we just created, and then we have a couple of generation types: generate and download, issue to a delegate's portal, or download a preview. So today I'm going to be generating and downloading. Once that is downloaded, you will then get a copy of your certificate. And this is how it is generated using all of those merge fields that we put in there. So we had the delegate name, the name of the course, and the 2 dates on there. So that is manually issuing a certificate. So now we want to look at automatically generating these certificates. So the first step to do that is to link your certificate to the course template in question. So I'm going to find my emergency first aid at work and edit. From the details page, I'm navigating down to the document templates section. And in certificates, I'm going to type the name of the certificate I just created. Once my certificate is associated to my course template, I am then ready to create the workflow that can send this automatically. So again, in profile and administration, we're coming into workflow templates and creating a new one, giving it a name of certificate, and using the module of delegate. Typically, your certificates will be sent directly to the delegates. Then we're looking at the settings. So the settings are the rules that will trigger your workflow. So again, thinking back now to the status of the delegates, I want these to be incompleted. My delegates will have had to complete the course in order to get their certificate. And here I'm adding what's called a has changed rule. So this will just prevent any certificates going for delegates that have completed in the past. And lastly, I'm preventing this workflow from triggering for all sessions. So if I had a 3-day first aid at work course, I wouldn't want 4 certificates. Now I'm going to add an action, which is where I can link the certificate. So first, I'm going to tell the workflow the parameters for the date. So I'm going to make this send 5 minutes after the delegate is set to completed. Our new feature, as featured in our product webinar from last week, is being able to change the from address, selecting the delegate address to send to, and then the last step is selecting an email template. Now I'm just going to view this one for you. We can see our branding in here, the module of delegate, heading, and we also have access to a link here. So this link is a call to action. By clicking, the delegate can then download their certificate. So clicking on that link means that they can download, and that link is available in quick links from your email templates. So that's the email template I'm going to select in the drop-down and then save, and this is ready to go. We also have the option of adding the document as a static attachment. So to do that, you add a file of document template and attach your certificate from there. So this way, they will both get a link to download and a hard copy attachment as well. Okay. So now we're on to some top tips for creating your certificates. So here's our example again of Donna's certificate. So first tip, it might be a fairly obvious one, but it's always worth putting yourself in your delegate's shoes and looking at a certificate design from their perspective. So a few things: is it easy to see what the certificate is for? Is it clear that your business has issued it? Have you got your logos and colors? And is it something that they would be proud to display or post online? And just does it generally look nice? Then next is the custom fields that we add in addition to your standard merge fields. We're noticing custom fields are being used more and more often within the course and delegate modules. So adding those can add a real sort of bespoke element to your certificate. Much like I mentioned earlier, that unique identifier might be one of those custom fields. Formatting any dates. So I mentioned this briefly, adding in that format, because you may have different types of dates on one certificate. For example, you might have a date of birth and a start time, and you want to differentiate those two. We want to have different date formats for each. So things that we can consider here is the recipient. So are they going to be expecting a UK date format, a US date format, and then also the tone and layout of the certificate. If this is a very formal certificate, you may want to have the full name of the date. So as I said, Tuesday, the 15th of May. If it's already quite a busy certificate with lots of information on there, you might want to simplify that down and just have the month and the year. Including a signature can really increase the feeling of authenticity to your certificates. It gives that credibility to your certificate and acknowledges your recipient's achievements. And then finally, something that accessplanit is really focusing on this year is considering accessibility. So try and consider that in mind when you're designing your certificates. Sufficient color contrast for any text and graphics, clear and easy to read fonts such as Arial, Helvetica or Calibri, because decorative fonts are nice, but they can be difficult to read if you have a visual impairment. And then also providing descriptive alternative text for any images on there. Users who are relying on a screen reader can then access the full design of your certificate. So next up, we're now going on to sign-in sheets. There's a lot similar with sign-in sheets to certificates, but we're going to go through that because there's an extra couple of steps if you're going to have multiple delegates on one document. Okay. So here we have my basic sign-in sheet, and I'm going to be looking to add merge fields here. So like I mentioned, I want the course name, start and end time at the top in nice clear formatting. So I'm going to be adding my merge fields of course label again. And this is just in the same way using the insert and quick part functionality. Adding in my dates, as long with any date formatting. And then the same with our end date. So in our guide, you will find each of the options for those date formattings. So using that merge field glossary that I mentioned. And then finally in this part, we're going to be adding in the venue details. And then now we want to start looking at adding in the delegate information. So like we said, we're going to be using name and company. And for this one, we want to add an extra of the :1 at the end, because that's going to tell me to show the first delegate. So I've now got one delegate on here, and we can paste those in. Now, obviously, we don't want to keep that as one because they would just only then show me the first delegate. So I would have a list of Sarah Bickerstaffs attending my course. You can go through and amend each one individually, or a recent discovery of ours is using Alt and F9. This then puts this a little bit scary merge field formatting, but you can see here where we can really quickly and edit the candidate name number there. The amount of time that this will save is really exciting. So if you don't take anything else from today's webinar, do try and remember this trick, because it would have saved me a lot of time over the years. So now you can see it doesn't update the label, but in the background, it has updated it to candidate number 4. So now my sign-in sheet is ready to upload into the platform. So earlier we created a brand new document template. It may be that you're just amending an existing one. So rather than creating a brand new one, I can edit, come to the document section, and just upload a new file against this sign-in sheet. That means any previous associations with course templates or workflows will be updated automatically. So we've now saved those changes and we've updated our sign-in sheet. Now I can come and generate the sign-in sheet from a course, coming into the delegate list, selecting my delegates, and then using the drop-down to generate documents. Once again, selecting my sign-in sheet that I created. I am going to choose PDF for this output, but if you wanted your trainers to be able to edit it, you may put it in Word. And again, generate and download. And I will then get a copy of my sign-in sheet. Comes, and you can see there with my 1, 2, 3 delegates, all from the same company. Okay. So much like with your certificates, you need to assign them to your course templates, and then you can also link them into your workflows, just in the same way. So you can see we have our email template there and an attachment of a sign-in sheet. So in our email addresses, we're sending this to the trainer and to the reception, and this is going to be sending 1 day before the course. Additionally, you can provide your trainers with access to sign-in sheets via their My Teaching portal. So when they log in, they have the option to generate a sign-in sheet themselves. So a lot of the top tips are very similar to the certificate ones. So while it's not quite as important for these to be branded, it's still nice to have them looking professional for when your delegates arrive there. Formatting the dates so it makes sense, and still considering accessibility for your delegates to be able to fill those in when they come to you. So there are some sign-in sheet specific tips. A little bit of a tongue twister there. So including the course information at the top is a must. So I mentioned this earlier, but your trainers may have multiple courses running across multiple days. So having that information nice and clear at the top is really helpful to prevent them from getting muddled up. Using accessplanit merge fields to pre-print your delegates' names. Not only does it save your delegates time from having to fill in their full name, it also demonstrates that you're organized and easily flags people if they are in the wrong room or not in the right place. So typically, sign-in sheets are made available to delegates rather than kept as trainer-only documents. So either way, we want to be trying not to overload the document with information, keeping that content to a minimum. So 2 reasons for this is, firstly, simplicity. Is we're asking our delegates to sign in. We don't want this to be a complicated process. And secondly, for data protection. So we only want to be including the information that is necessary. And the most common information we see on sign-in sheets like this is the delegate name and company name. If your sign-in sheet contains anything that's a little bit more than just a simple signature, we recommend including a little explainer at the top of your document. So give your delegates some context on what they are being expected to fill in on this sheet, and just makes it more likely that you're going to get the correct information on there. And then finally, make sure your trainers know where to go and get a backup copy. So whether that is in their portal or whether they've got printed copies maybe behind a reception, it's always useful because accidents can happen and things can get lost. Okay, so before we wrap up, I mentioned at the beginning, I just wanted to touch on a few different uses for document templates. They're not just limited to certificates and sign-in sheets. So the first one being name badges. So it may be that you have a particularly high delegate count and you want to create some name badges for those to make it easier for your trainers and the delegates themselves to interact. Door signs are very handy. If you've got a lot of courses running in the same day on the same venue, you can identify which course is happening where. It also just adds a nice add to the room. Shipping addresses. Oh, sorry, I'll show you my door sign there. Shipping labels. So you can then print your addresses for your delegates for posting them any products and services or any pre or post course materials. And then finally, a little bit more traditional with this one, a joining instructions letter. So this can be sent to your delegates or perhaps your bookers. So if any of these have piqued your interest, please do get in touch with your optimized CSM at accessplanit if you want to explore any of these further. So just to recap on what we've covered, we went through an introduction to document templates, why they are used and why you would want to, so including sign-in sheets, documents, door signs, labels. We went through creating and generating certificates, so designing them in Word, making the plan, right through to uploading them into accessplanit and generating them for a delegate. We then did the same with our sign-in sheets using that handy Alt F9 for editing your numbered delegates. And then finally, we went through our other uses. Okay.
So it will be great to know what everyone's main takeaway from the session is, if you want to drop that in the comments. Is it the first time you've come across document templates, or have you been introduced to a new way of using them this session? Or are there any tips that you're particularly looking to try out?
Yeah, equally, if you've had any tips that I haven't mentioned, do drop them in the chat as well.
That too.
Well, whilst we're waiting for those, I'll also pop up our Q&A section. So if you've got any questions, now is the time. Of course, if you're like me and your brain goes completely blank when anyone asks this and you think of it 20 minutes after this webinar, feel free to get in contact with one of us and we'll be more than happy to help.
While you're thinking of any questions, do we have a look at what our upcoming events are?
Certainly can.
So the next few events are all free sessions running soon. They're typically between 15 and 30 minutes. Firstly, we have got Sarah coming back with Sean, who's going to be providing an overview of the report writer tool on the 30th of May. And on the 13th of June, we've got Jack and Lauren who are going to take you through how we can use the opportunities module to sell more. And then finally, on Tuesday, the 25th of June, Sean is going to give you a tour of the brand new Consolidate Emails functionality, which will be available in your workflows in the coming weeks. As I mentioned, all of these events are completely free of charge, and you can book them via our customer event page.